Alrighty, weather impact alert. We've been talking about it for days leading up to tonight, and you've seen it on the 7-day as a red bar on Saturday night, and then a red on the day on Sunday, and then Monday morning. Think of it as three phases, where tonight is the main, winter time thing. We're going to see anything freeze. Mainly our northern counties could have some ice or some sort of a sleet mix. That's phase one. Phase two comes in tomorrow. If you haven't heard of this, why not throw this in the mix? A line of thunderstorms, mainly in our southern half tomorrow, that could be strong to severe, and can't rule out a brief spin up, maybe even tornado in parts of that. It's not a big chance of that, but a couple of storms that could have a little punch. 47 right now. All right, so we put 33, I did, on here because 32 makes it sound like, it's for sure. It's going to freeze, and we're going to have all the things that the big, the wintry system. 33-ish for the Macon area. Once you go north of Macon in our northern counties, that's where we start to see things a little bit lower. So if it's going to happen, it would be overnight toward tomorrow morning, and again, mainly in our northern counties. And then we get into the strong storms that are possible tomorrow as well. Look at this. This is some forecasting we're doing, but some nowcasting as well, as you can see what's going on across the country. Look at these numbers: 2, 4, 8 degrees. And then down here in our little corner of the world, we have some green on the board where we're seeing 50s and 60s south, but 30s starting to build into northeast Georgia. So we talk about it all the time, that wedge. So cold air coming down, hits the Appalachians, and then funnels down because it's heavy. It's not going over the mountains. So it acts as kind of like a dam, and then it just funnels it down in a wedge shape up here. And so that's where the trick is, trying to figure out where the bottom edge of the wedge is. Where does that freezing line stop? And most models have it mainly in our northern counties, so that anything that falls as we go through the overnight toward tomorrow morning would be possibly frozen here, and then a cold rain, everything south, except for the graph, which you'll see in a second, still continues to show us with the possibility of maybe near freezing even in the Macon area. It's going to be kind of touch and go. Now, we are colder by 7, 8 degrees from this time last night, but not cold enough just yet. The wind has been part of the situation and is part of it now. Occasional wind gusts of 15 to 20 miles per hour. So the wind chill is feeling like 38, 39 in a few spots. Obviously, we've had much colder weather than this. We're just trying to see if that magic 32-degree mark, all right? And so I'm going to show you that model stuff in a second. Some light rain showers, Jasper, Putnam County, mainly Jasper a little bit earlier, around Atlanta, a few sprinkles there. And the models were showing this, that these will be the spots that may have a few sprinkles. So the rain is getting closer, but the numbers are not there yet for it to change over like it is up here. Look at this too. This is fascinating. What a system. That's not cloud cover. That is snow, actually. I've turned the satellite layer off. The clouds are not even on. So all that snow, you're talking about 1,600 miles wide, and a system that goes from the Gulf to the Great Lakes, about 600 miles there. So you got snow to the north, rain to the south, and it's that in-between area where the problem is, and that's ice. You know what to do in snow, you know what to do in rain, but a lot of folks don't know what to do in ice because there's not much you can do with it. You can't really drive on it. As far as the weather alerts, we're on this bottom tier light color, which just says, you could have maybe 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of maybe some ice there. The bigger chance is going to be as you go north of I-20 into North Georgia, 1/4 inch to an inch, which doesn't sound like much when you think of it in the sense of rain or snow, but on ice, you get 1/4, half, an inch of ice, you're talking about a lot of weight on power lines and trees and all that. And it's when you see those pictures of where the trees and the power lines are just drooping over like that. So that's where it's more possible as you get into northeast Georgia. Still a pretty high impact risk of that from Atlanta to Athens. And then once you get into Monroe, Jones, Baldwin, Hancock, and then underneath that, you're seeing even in our counties, our main central counties here, as we get into Bibb, parts of Twiggs, Wilkinson. If this even happens, this would be very minor as far as any ice accumulation there. Obviously, the bigger totals are going to be up north. All right, so here's a look at the graph model. So once again, the breakdown on this is the graph is the normal model that we show on the news all the time. So this is the one that we're so used to seeing, and it's also the outlier of all the other models. Why do I say that? Well, because the other ones are showing, kind of going along with where those advisories were, that the cutoff for the freezing lines right here, Jasper, Putnam, Hancock, and not any farther south than that. But the graph continues to try to drag things farther south. I'm going to show you a zoom in shot in a minute, but here's the big picture, which shows that wedge building in. And now earlier, as we've been going through the past couple of days, the graph was showing 32 and below for a handful of hours overnight. Now it's kind of like a 33, 34 in the Macon area, very close, but our northern counties below freezing, as you'll see when I zoom in just a second. So there's the wedge set up in place. Again, it's there for a good chunk of our area. The cold air is there, but the freezing part of it, where does that line end up? All right, so there is tomorrow morning. And this gets into phase 2. Phase 1 is, will we see any sort of ice situation with any of this? We passed the morning tomorrow, either we did or we didn't get that. Phase 2 is, we get a warm front lifting up here, still have the wedge here, cold air, but then now you're talking about a huge temperature spread where you're going from like 40s to 70s from our northern counties to our southern counties. And right along all this is going to be a line of thunderstorms that will have a little bit of a punch to them. Mainly gusty winds would be the main threat with that, but we can't rule out a little brief spin up. Usually they're not that big of a deal. A little tornado, you can't rule it out. I know we don't like that word, but the possibility is there. It's not a great possibility. It's not a high risk, but something we'll have to watch for as we go through the day tomorrow. Then this stuff will clear on out. And as we go through tomorrow night toward Monday morning, this is phase 3 of the thing. And of course, that's where a lot of people are wondering, the weekend is the weekend. Whatever happens or doesn't happen, that's fine. But then we have to get back to work and school on Monday. So how does this work out? If we're going to freezing Monday morning and we had rain all day Sunday, that stuff's not going to dry up at that point. So is it going to freeze? We are going to freezing, but it's going to take a while to bring these numbers back down because we warm up during the day Sunday. So here's around 3 in the morning. If this is right, somewhere around 6 a.m. we may hit on freezing, and then we'll sit there 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Then once we get to around 10 o'clock, again, if this is right, so that's like a 4 or 5 hour window of sitting at the freezing line. So again, is that enough that it has caused a big problem on roadways and stuff like that? We'll have to see. It's not like the same thing as if you started at 10 o'clock at night all the way to sunrise and you were sitting in the 20s all night. That's a different story. So again, it could be a problem as we go into Monday morning. We do warm up some as we go into Monday with some 40s, and then it goes ridiculously cold Tuesday night. Anything that's still out there as far as puddles and stuff like that will definitely refreeze by Tuesday morning. All right, so same numbers, but this is zoomed in because this way you can kind of see the difference of who has freezing and who doesn't. This is 2 or 3 in the morning. Jasper, Putnam County, Hancock, probably a pretty good bet freezing. You can see Milledgeville, Forsyth, Irwinton, Macon right on the line, Wrightsville right on the line. Again, any little movement south, especially with the Macon area, now you're talking about more people are involved. Many, many thousands of people are now more into an ice situation. If this drops down a little farther south, and then there's around 9 o'clock Sunday morning, and then you can see it starting to warm up a little bit and definitely warming up from the south as we start to get this changeover. I mean, this is crazy. 41 to 73 from north to south here. And then what you don't see here is that line of thunderstorms coming across, and I'm going to show you all that in a second. But then as we get into Sunday night, Monday morning, looking for where does the freezing start. Now, Thomaston, Forsyth, some of these places may go on, especially the farther north and west you are, it's going to be cooling off first, may hit freezing a little bit earlier, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then as we go farther toward the east, as we go through time here, everybody else kind of catching up to it, and then eventually underneath the freezing line, but now you're getting into sunrise here. So in other words, it's not a huge window of freezing. Could be 4 or 5 hours or more the farther west you go. And then as we head in toward 10 o'clock, we start to bring the numbers up as we go through the day. Okay, so here is that same model with all those numbers, but now we look at it through the lens of rain or frozen stuff, all right? And you can see as we head in, this is like the next hour or so, showing North Georgia with more of this. And then around midnight tonight, and we'll see if this happens. I mean, that's like 4 hours from now. Is the rain here yet? And is this temperature profile set up yet? Right now, it's not even close in some of these spots to freezing. So we'll see if this wedge continues to really set up, and does it time out right as this rain is coming in. Again, the graph is the outlier of all the models. Most of this pink shaded area on all the other models is up here, or even almost to I-20. It almost leaves us out. But this model continues to show it as far south as Macon. As we get into 4 or 5 in the morning, still the possibility is there, and then this lifts out. So if you're in our southern half and you're like, oh, well, okay, well, we didn't get anything with that. That was just maybe some ice in the northern half of central Georgia, and that was it. Well, the part for you and for everybody, there'll be rain and some rumbles here, but the farther south you go on the extent of this, some strong thunderstorms possible, gusty winds in there. And again, we'll see if there's a brief spin up for just a moment. There's around, I think probably a 2 p.m. start in our western counties. And then probably by the time we get into 5 or 6 o'clock, it is through our eastern counties. But as far as where you're standing, the main effect from the wind from those thunderstorms, maybe like 10, 15 minutes for where you are, but it's going to take a few hours for it to get across our whole area. And then we will start to broom this out. The back edge of the rain probably clearing the Macon area by the time we get into, around this time Sunday night, 8, 9 o'clock, and then through the rest of the area as we get into 11 o'clock midnight. So then we just had all that rain, all right? And so then we're trying to figure out, there's plenty of water out there. How does it look as we go into Monday morning? Do the numbers line up to where it is freezing long enough to make a difference? Same model. Now we put the numbers on here and we can kind of pair it all together here. So we're looking at 30s near freezing here as we head toward midnight. Again, is the precip going to be here too? That's the other thing. Is it going to be cold enough in time for all this stuff has to line up just right. There's around 2 in the morning. See in our northern counties, mainly just a cold rain here, but again, right on the line of possibly changing over. Again, it may just be just north of Macon, something like that. But I do think our northern counties definitely have the better shot of this, and then eventually our northeastern counties as we head toward morning, and then everything peels away. As far as the storm outlook is concerned, low end, level 1, so not a big severe threat. They did add, the National Weather Service, a level 2 for southwest Georgia, just a little bit more of an elevated threat. As we look at the NAM model, this is the North American model, just to show you the differences in these. It mainly keeps it in our northeast corner here with the potential for something maybe frozen and then leaving, and there's the thunderstorms tomorrow. Let's roll over to the high-res model, and you're going to see these come out every hour, and so you're going to see changes more on these each time we look at them. But notice this one barely puts it Jasper, Putnam, and Hancock counties, which kind of goes along with what most models are thinking. So all that graph stuff I've been showing you, that's really pretty much the only model that brings it as far south as Macon. Everything else is way up here. As we go forward, pulling away and leaving, thunderstorms, they all agree on that, coming through in the afternoon tomorrow. As far as the GFS, which was the original kind of bell ringer on this whole thing earlier in the week, which was showing, I don't know if you remember that pink shaded area all across the southeast for like 2 or 3 days. It was like, whoa, this is going to be rough. Now it's in line with showing, again, in that wedge area, and it's barely even in our northeastern counties. Then let's go with the Euro model, same kind of thing. You see the pink shaded area pretty much staying up to the north here. And on this one, it doesn't even really bring it down even into Jasper, Putnam, Hancock. So just some of the totals, the graph, again, it did show pink as far south as maybe Macon, but you can see some of the shading here is mainly toward the north. The Euro keeps it pretty much out of reach. GFS, same thing, maybe grazing our northern counties. And then as we look at the NAM, it keeps everything up totally north of us. So potential ice totals, again, mainly rain here. This is kind of worst case scenario because we really don't want ice. I mean, this is not something that's fun. It's actually, a headache. So a tenth to a quarter of an inch as far south as maybe Macon, and then a quarter to a half as you get on up. And those are the bigger totals up there. And really, if this is kind of taken into account the graph model, the other models would have this green all the way up to here. So a cold rain pretty much for everybody. Just a quick setup again to show you how things work in the upper levels. So the red showing where warm air is. So we're like looking at the sky, right? So here the clouds are up here. It's all warm from the cloud to the surface. It's all rain coming down. Snow. So like we did last Sunday, starts as snow from the top, comes down, it's freezing all the way down the column until you get to the surface. And like last Sunday, it didn't necessarily have to be freezing at the surface. I had people ask, how is it that it's snowing and it's 35 degrees outside? Well, because the surface was not totally freezing, but even as these snowflakes come down, it drags the cold air down and starts to create a colder atmosphere at the surface. So that's the reason we saw that way. Sleet, warmer in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It comes down starting as rain and then gets into cold air, freezing air, but not enough time, and it didn't originate as a fluffy snow, so it starts to get little freezing ice pellets mixed in with some raindrops. That's how sleet works. So freezing rain, it is totally rain, comes all the way down as rain, and it's totally dependent on what's going on at the surface, the opposite of what we had last week. So it has to be 32 or below, or this is just rain as we go through the overnight into tomorrow morning. The wind has been a part of this. I think that's what was going to try to show up next. We'll see if it does. There it is right there. So just to show you some of the wind gusts as we head through. Space bar doesn't want to work. Let's try this. Nope. Let's go back to the other one. There we go. And as we go forward through tonight, still that northeasterly flow at maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour. Then we get into tomorrow. You can see the warm air coming up from the Gulf. So we could be looking at 25 to 30 mile per hour winds out of the south. Wind going all different directions here. And then after those storms clear through, now it's windy on the backside, bringing cold air from the northwest. And that'll be around as we go through the day Monday. And this is what it does to the feels like numbers. And once again, feels like it is what it says. It's just what it sensibly feels like to your skin. That number does nothing for changing precip over. You have to have a legit actual freezing number. So this is just, that's not going to change things over. It's just like if you walk outside, you can tell the difference if it's 32 degrees and not windy. And if it's 32 degrees and you have a 20-mile-an-hour wind coming at you, it feels a lot colder. So 20s is what it'll feel like in the morning. This goes into now Monday morning. Even though it's like a 4 or 5 hour window where we may hit freezing for a little bit, it will feel like it's in the mid to upper teens. And even during the day Monday, yes, technically we look to go above 40, but it's probably going to feel like freezing pretty much for the whole day. Then we get into Tuesday morning, and it feels like it could be near 10, 12 degrees. There's a look at the 7-day, and again, what it's showing is the weather impact alert continuing. Now, we'd had it on there for Saturday night through the day Sunday into the beginning of Monday. Well, now we're in Saturday night, and Saturday's not on the 7-day anymore because it always starts with the next day. So really, this kind of takes into account tomorrow morning would be part of it right here. Do we see any of that frozen stuff mainly in our northern counties? Then that line of thunderstorms that comes through during the middle of the day tomorrow. And then tomorrow night into Monday morning, the potential for, well, it's going to freeze. It's just, again, how long does it have to be sitting there at freezing for it to cause the trouble? Because we have people heading to work and school as we go into Monday. So a lot of folks are like, okay, so the roads are going to be iced over. It's like, well, could be. It could be kind of a flash freeze. But again, the big difference in having a full night in the 20s and having only 4 or 5 hours, that's what we're trying to kind of kick around here as we go into Monday morning. So back to the current situation again, just to show you that it is light rain that's been coming through Atlanta. And again, not cold enough to change anything over just yet. And as you look up into North Georgia, you do see frozen stuff there. And again, just the sheer size of this system is amazing. Again, these aren't clouds, that's snow. The cloud layer has been turned off on this. So this goes about 1,600 miles from east to west and over 600 miles from north to south here, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf. So you have rain down here. Everybody knows what to do in the rain. Got to get an idea of what you can do in the snow. But it's that ice part, the pink shaded area in the middle, that causes so much trouble out there. And really will cause a lot of trouble with a lot of folks that even if they think they're really good drivers, there's nothing you can do on it. You just can't get traction. You can't do anything with that. So even if we were to see like maybe something, 1/10 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch or something like that, or even just a trace amount, that can even be enough to just put a glaze on things like roadways to where you can't even see it. But then you get out there on it and then all of a sudden you know it's there because you're slipping and sliding. Just to show you the numbers, no shortage of cold air. This matches up where all that snow is. Single digit numbers in so many places. But as you look in our little corner down here in the southeast, still looking at warm stuff to the south and over in the southern 2/3 of Alabama. But it's this wedge building in. And yes, there's been some rain kind of rolling through Atlanta, but it's still only 41 degrees. It's not even close there yet. So that rain continues to get a little closer. As a matter of fact, let's go back to, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go forward. How about that? We'll go forward. That rain continues to get closer, but it's going to be a timing thing. Does it get there in time at the same time that the freezing air is there? 40s to the north, 50s to the south. Yes, we're down 7, 8 degrees from this time last night, but obviously not cold enough for anything to change over. Again, the wind is a part of the situation. We have a little bit of a breeze out there at around 15 to 20. So yes, it already feels like 30s in some spots, but as we talked about, the feels like number does not do anything. That doesn't change something from liquid to frozen. That's just what it feels like, again, to your body. And you can see the light rain just kind of rolling across from LaGrange to Athens there. As we zoom out, as I was talking about, still 41 in the Atlanta area. Of course, the rain, the majority of it's still way back toward the west. And it actually is splintering apart a little bit. So how much of this even holds together? That's another part of this equation. The numbers may be there, but how much precip is actually coming in to actually have something rain to hit the ground to freeze? So we'll see how it goes. It's mainly just light stuff heading in from the west, but all that back toward the south may start to kind of ride up this way as well. So a lot of things to figure out still. And again, 3 phases is the way I'm framing it. Tonight into tomorrow morning, mainly northern counties, potential for ice. Tomorrow, a line of showers and storms that could be a little strong, mainly for our southern half. And then tomorrow night into Monday morning, all the rain that we had, freezing Monday morning, but we're only freezing for maybe 4 or 5 hours. And there's the question, is that long enough to cause a problem on the roadway Monday morning? And we'll have to see.